All right, we're going to go ahead and call the City of Centerton Board of Zoning Adjustment to order with roll call for April 21st, 2020.
Ty Manning,
Here.
Jerry Harris,
Here.
Tiffany Morris,
Here.
Amber Beal,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
Here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
and Jeff Seifarth.
And I'm here as well. First thing on the agenda this evening is the approval of the minutes from our BZA meeting of 4/7/2020.
Todd, this is Joey Engel. If there's no comments, I'll make a motion to approve the BZA minutes.
Second.
All right, we do have a motion and we have a second. Thank you, Joey, for your name. I think Devin, Todd, you can give it to whoever you want, but I think I heard Devin on that.
Yeah, I've got
So
Devin.
we have a motion and a second, and I'll just do, is anybody opposed to the motion? So Todd, we'll go ahead and consider that one approved then. Next thing, if necessary, there'll be a BZA meeting on 5/5/2020. And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the BZA meeting.
This is Craig. I make a motion to adjourn the BZA meeting for 4/21.
Second. Tiffany, and I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there anyone opposed? We'll consider that one passed as well, Todd. And then with that, I will call the City of Centerton Planning Commission to order for April 21st, 2020 with a roll call.
Ty Manning,
Here.
Jerry Harris,
Here.
Tiffany Morris,
Here.
Amber Beal,
Here.
Craig Langford,
Here.
Devin Murphy,
Here.
Joey Engel,
Here.
Jeff Seifarth.
Here as well. All right. First thing this evening is the planning minutes from 4/7/2020.
This is Joey Engel. Again, if there's no discussion, I'll make a motion to approve the planning minutes.
I'll second.
We have a
Got it.
motion, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, Todd, we'll consider those passed as well. First thing on the agenda this evening is under old business, it's development 19-02, and they have requested to be tabled, I guess, and moved. So because they requested to be moved, I guess I would entertain a motion to table this to the next meeting is what they've asked for.
I'll make a motion to table this until the next meeting.
This is
Second.
Jerry. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, now we're going to go ahead and move on to new business. Under new business, first thing this evening, we do have a public hearing, and this is for conditional use 20-01, Woo Pig Mooey. It's a barbecue smoker and dumpster. This is in Beckendale Plaza, and that is zoned as C2. So with that, I would entertain a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
This is Amber. I'll second.
Motion and a second. Is anyone opposed? All right, we are now open for public hearing. Is the applicant here to give us an overview, or is staff going to give us an overview?
The applicant is supposed to be here, but if they're
not, I can.
If the applicant is here, will you raise your hand so that we
Yeah,
can
His
allow
hand
you
is
to
Just
raised.
speak?
posted a question. So if, yeah, the applicant needs to raise your hand. Sorry.
His hand is currently raised.
Got it.
Hello.
Hi, if you could just state your name and then just kind of give us an overview of what you guys are wanting to do.
Joyce Dooley.
And Jimmy Dooley's here too. We're going to be opening a barbecue restaurant up in Beckendale Plaza, and we are wanting to put a smoker outside to service the restaurant. And there will be a portable metal building, like a storage building surrounding that smoker. That's what we're asking.
Okay. One of the questions that I see on here is it's the length of time. It says duration of the restaurant lease. Do you know how long your lease is right now?
Right now, it's another, it started January 1, and it will be going for 3 years, but we plan on being there quite a bit longer than that.
Okay. We'll probably, and we'll certainly have some discussion on it, but we may put that 3 years on there just so in case it changes, but then we'll kind of make it easy that it can be renewed without you having to necessarily come back to us, just in case.
Okay.
Would kind of be my direction to the commissioners, but certainly open, to discussion on that. So with that, Donna, do you want to go ahead and give us just an overview from a staff perspective?
Sure. So the conditional use permit we got, as Joey said, was for a metal building. It's approximately 10 foot by 20 foot. As you can see here, it's on the east side of the existing building at Beckendale Plaza. It's been discussed with both fire and building. So it will need to be at least 5 foot away from the building and about 23 feet from the front of the building so that it's not going to be right up next to people as they're coming into the front of the building. It'll be about 19 feet from Stein Street. When we first got the conditional use application, there was initially a dumpster that was also going to be put in, but at this time, Jimmy, the Dooleys are not planning on putting that dumpster in at this time. So if you'll scroll through, Nicole. So this is the, I'll actually discuss this. This is the building that they're planning on putting in, though it's going to be altered to meet building code. So there is going to be a metal screen along 3 sides, and there will be a chimney. So that's all been discussed with fire and building, and any alterations will be completely confirmed with them. Going through, I've added in some photos of the site to give you a better idea than just an aerial. So moving on. Next, please. All right, so this is the east side. As you can see, there's a gravel bay between the existing driveway and the building. So the driveway is not currently used. So the structure would be placed here. The windows are not currently operable, though they could be. We would like, if possible, for the structure to be placed so it's not in the way of the windows, but it would be placed in this driveway. So next. So this is the proposed location that we were initially discussing the dumpster location, but in discussions with the Dooleys, they are not currently planning on installing a dumpster with the initial entry to the restaurant. So if they do install a dumpster, staff would require, we would recommend that Planning Commission require that there be a concrete pad, bollards with occupancy, and then there would need to be a wall similar to the wall that's already there. But at this time, they're not wanting to install that dumpster. What they would like to do instead is use the existing dumpster that's already on site and then do a dumpster here at a later date. So we go next.
All right, thanks, Donna. So this is a public, open to the public. And so what we would ask is if anyone from the public wishes to speak or have any questions that they wish to ask, there is this raised hand function that you would see at the bottom of your screen. We would just ask that you would raise your hand and then we would open it up to the public for you to ask any questions or comments. And this is the second call for anyone from the public that wishes to speak or has any questions.
Jeff, it looks like we have one.
Let's see.
Does look like one hand raised.
Nicole, can you
Okay.
recognize that person so they can speak?
It's Deb Mertz. There. Are you able to speak now?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, if you can just state your name and your address and then feel free to ask your question or state your comment, please.
Okay. My name is Deb Mertz. I live at 1389 West Centerton Boulevard in Centerton. And as a member of the community, I would love to see an outside barbecue has an exceptional restaurant that will serve exceptional barbecue at Woo Pig Mooey. I'm familiar with the food and I highly recommend it.
All right, good deal. I appreciate the vote of confidence, and we're always looking for good restaurants, of course. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, third and final call. Any additional comments or questions? And if not, I would entertain a motion to close the public hearing.
Jeff, I didn't get to note that the hours of operation they do intend to go. The smoker is planning to operate continuously from Sunday through Saturday. So it is planning on running pretty continuously. So that is a note.
Okay, thank you.
Jeff, this is Joey. I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Tiffany, and I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. Is anyone opposed to that? If not, then we would consider the public hearing closed, and I would open it up for any discussion or comments from any of the commissioners or any additional comments from staff.
Joey, Jeff, this is Lorraine. My main concern is going to be the dumpster. There's only one dumpster on the site, and it is over on the west end, the northwest corner. It does look like there are smaller containers on the back of the other units. And so I would recommend that they have at least something of what the other units have. I don't know if you can go to, Nicole, if you could go back to one of those pages that shows the back of the units. Like where the one that shows where they were going to put the dumpster, the future location of the dumpster. Okay, if you look there, you'll see, whoops, you were on it. If you go forward, yeah. There, this one here. If you look on the back of the buildings, whoops. Nicole, can you go back to that one that you just had, that one? Just leave it.
I'm sorry, there must be a delay because I've been on it and then, so I'll try to hold it for
It's
a
Okay.
the
while.
one that says future additional dumpster location.
Yes. If you look at the back of the buildings, you'll see dumpster containers at the back doors. I'm not sure where they get those, but something like that. They have someone come by and pick up their trash. And that was one of the things that I had mentioned that they need to find out about.
Lorraine, can I interject?
Aren't those grease pits right there?
Yes, they are.
Yeah, so that's not a typical trash. What was the Mexican restaurant using for trash prior to this?
They were also using that dumpster on the other side.
Okay.
I was told that they have someone come by and pick up their trash.
I've been told
Daily.
since then that they are picking up the trash and pickups and they're just driving it over to the dumpster. That's what I've been told.
So I guess
Go ahead, Todd.
is the concern that they're going to leave trash outside, or what's the concern on your end? If you're talking, Lorraine, you're muted.
What was your question?
I was trying to understand your concern for lack of a dumpster.
Okay, for the whole site, this is the only dumpster that is available for that entire Beckendale Plaza. So people are doing something with their trash. I'm not, unless this is getting dumped very frequently.
Currently, it's
But
dumped
it
twice
is
a
at
week.
the, pardon?
I'm sorry, currently it's dumped twice a week.
So I think if it becomes an issue, you can easily expand that, add another pad for an additional dumpster, have 2 dumpsters and be okay.
Yeah, and I don't think this is just their problem. I think it's the you know, the
Exactly.
owners.
I don't think it's
problem.
right to impose this dumpster on this applicant.
Right, I agree. It's just
Yeah,
a
I
problem
think
with
it-
this site.
Yeah, I think it becomes an operational issue for them on how they're gonna handle their trash. I mean, we could say if you start leaving trash on your back porch or on your front porch, and you know, I think that's a different story, but I mean, I'm fine with them using this one.
This is Jerry. I have a question. According to Nicole's picture, the question I have is the dumpster they're proposing located on the outside of the wall or the inside? Because the way her picture looks like it's proposed on the outside of the wall.
They're not doing a dumpster, Jerry.
Currently, we're not. We would
Okay.
leave it open if we do need one. If this one isn't sufficient, then we would like to leave it open to have that as an option. and we would put the concrete pad in and for the dumpster.
But to answer your question, Jerry, it does look like the proposal would be on the outside of the fence, which is the reason that the suggestion was the pad with some sort of fencing around it. So the picture that's up there right now shows a little bit better that fencing would come around, but they would have to, because we're not necessarily approving, I guess, the dumpster this evening because they're not asking for it. We would see that with an additional request.
Okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
The idea was that that dumpster would be out of the way because previous discussions had it much closer to the entrance. So having it back here gives it access and keeps it out of the drive lane.
Okay, definitely something for us to think about in the future if they decide that they need it, if there is an issue with the trash service.
So I have a question, as far as the windows on the side of the building. What was the thought with kind of keeping clearance for those windows? And does that really affect the design at all?
If the windows became operable, then there could be access towards passing food back and forth, or there could be potentially emergency escapes or something along those lines. But it was more of a, if there is a way that the structure could be placed where it doesn't block the windows, then that would be preferable, but it's not a requirement.
So does the applicant have a preference?
The current plan is starting it at that back window. It's starting it right at the front, toward the front of the building. And it will go past that second window, which is closer to the front of the building. But the back window will be left where it will be, you can see through it and everything. But the building will go past that second window. From left to right, the second being the right.
Yeah, the preference was that we don't block both windows.
Correct.
Any other questions, concerns, or comments from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the conditional use 20-01, Woo Pig Movie, which is again in Beckendale Plaza.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve conditional use 2001 Woo Pig Mooey as presented without the dumpster enclosure with the specified time period of 3 years.
Second.
All right. I do have a motion and a second. Todd, will you do a roll call on this one for me?
Sure. Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
and Jeff Seifert.
Yes. All right. Thank you, Doolies, and good luck. We're looking forward to some barbecue.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
All right. Next on the agenda this evening is a track split. This is 20-03, Christian Life Center at Gamble Road. It is R3 and 10 acres. Is the applicant here to give us an overview?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. If you could
Thank you.
just let us know your name and just kind of give us an overview, please.
Sure. My name is James King, and I'm pastor president of Christian Life Center of Centerton. And we are seeking a tract split of our approximate 10 acres. We're wanting to separate 7 from 3 of those acres and use the 3 acres in the not too distant future for our sanctuary and our building project. Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thanks. Donna, do you want to give us an overview from staff?
Sure. So, as he said, they are splitting the parcels. One will be 3 acres for the church, and the other 7 acres in the future will be sold and developed as a duplex lot subdivision. The zoning is R3, and both lots will be maintaining direct access to existing roads, with Gamble Road to the east and Zachary Road here on the north side. The Gamble Road is currently a collector, and on the master trail plan, it is shown to have a 10-foot side path. So there is R3 surrounding it on the northwest, south, and east. There's R1 to the southeast, and it does have existing subdivisions. The property itself is an open field, and there's been pretty significant fill and debris placement over the years. And along that same vein, there's been pretty significant drainage issues on the property. And on the next page, I've included the National Wetlands Inventory because they show a creek. They note it as a riverine wetland. It's shown on our map as a creek stream from the northwest to the southeast corner. And there's a pond shown, but it's not showing up on the aerial. So it's very likely that it's been filled in. So there will probably have to be some kind of wetland study or jurisdictional study just to confirm that there aren't any wetlands. It's not likely, but we'll need to confirm. On the adopted land use plan, it's marked as high density residential. The proposed is single family residential, so doing a track split makes sense. There is adjacent sewer and water. We've taken a look at the plans and generally find them to be in conformance.
All right, thanks, Donna. Any questions, concerns, or comments from any of the commissioners?
On a quick note, there are just a few little staff comments, but they're all cleanup. So.
Okay, thank you. Again, I would ask if there's any questions, concerns, or comments from any of the commissioners. All right, if not, then I would entertain a motion for track split 20-03 for the, let's see, it's on Gamble and Seba Road.
This is Tiffany. I'll make a motion to approve track split 20-03 Christian Life Center on Gamble Road, subject to any outstanding staff comments.
This is Amber. We'll both second it.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right, thank you, guys. All right, next on the agenda this evening is track split 20-04, the Coolman property. This is at 9503 Rebel Road, approximately 11.12 acres, and it is in the county. Is the applicant here to give us an overview, whether it's Jeff or Rob?
I know Rob said he was going to try to make it. Don't see any hands raised.
Okay. Well, Rob, if you happen to be on, if you'll raise your hand, then we'll let you jump in. Diane, do you want to go ahead and just give us a staff overview?
Sure, I can do that. This property is owned by Jeffrey Coleman. It is in the county. It's just outside of our Centerton city limits. I have it marked there on the right-hand side of the photo. It is, goodness, how many acres is it? It is 11.12 acres, and they are going to be splitting it into 3 tracts. The first tract is 3.75 acres. Tract number 2 is 3.67, and tract 3 is 3.70. Like I said, it is in Benton County. It is outside of our city limits, so there is no zoning. It is just county. They're not dedicating right of way currently, but they do show on the plat a 30-foot additional future right of way for both Rebel and Shipe Road. All 3 of the tracks do have frontage onto Shipe Road, and tract number 3, they front onto Shipe Road, but I mean, we would prefer they all access the same one, but they do also have an access there on Rebel Road. There are a few comments out there. They're mainly, like Donna said with her track split, just some cleanup type things. And we just got a new one in today that did address a planning comment that I had for showing the future right of way on Rebel Road. And they also fixed all but one little cleanup item from the city engineer. But it is definitely in conformance with the Centerton Municipal Code.
Okay, thank you. Any questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners?
What's the minimum lot size here required?
In the county, it is 2 acres. And since it is outside of our zoning area, there really isn't a minimum for us. Typically, if it was agriculture and it was less than 5 acres, they'd have to rezone. But this is in the county and they are over 2 acres.
Yeah, we actually do have a minimum of 2.5 acres outside the city limits. That's why before we had to ask for a variance. The county has a minimum of 1 acre tracts. But this does meet the 2.5 acres minimum.
Thank you, Laureen, because I was all kinds of wrong on that.
That's
All right, any other questions, comments, concerns from any of the commissioners? Then if not, I would entertain a motion for track split 20-04, the Coleman property, again at 9503 Rebel Road, 11.12 acres.
This is Amber Beal. I'll make a motion to approve track split 20-04.
Second, this is Ty.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda this evening is a track split 20-06, 2188 LLC property. This is Highway 279 South in Vaughn and Fish Hatchery. It's approximately 79.99 acres. Is the applicant here to give us an overview? Nicole, do you know if Wes or anyone was going to be on the call tonight?
George Kane with Blue and Associates available.
Do you just want to give us your name again? Just kind of give us an overview of what you guys are requesting.
It changed on me. All right. So we're requesting a track split, 3 tracks. Basically, we're going to have the parent track in the middle, or the main track in the middle, where basically the overhead power line goes through it. But it should be pretty straightforward. We're just asking for a track split to make this into 3 tracks from the original parent track.
Can I get your name again?
George Duquesne with Blue and Associates.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks, George. Nicole, do you want to give us a staff overview?
Yes, if I can get my technology to work. Okay. So again, this property is located on the northeast corner of Fish Hatchery and Highway 279 South, or Vaughn Road. It is about 80 acres, and they're proposing to split the 80 acres into 3 tracks. The first is an L shape that's been kind of flipped onto its side, and that is 31.19 acres. Track 2 is 36.9 acres, and track 3 is 8.3, which is a strip along Highway 279. This is for your action, and the plat is proposing right-of-way dedication. So this would go to council for their acceptance of the right-of-way dedication, and the next council meeting is scheduled for May 12th on the agenda, on the calendar. It's currently zoned R2, which is our medium density residential zoning district. And this plat conforms to the requirements of that zoning district, according to staff findings. The dedication proposed is 40 feet along both Highway 279 and West Fish Hatchery Road to meet the planned future master street plan. Vaughn Road is designated an arterial on the current master street plan, which is a minimum of 80 feet of right of way. The draft master street plan actually downgrades this portion. We're proposing that the arterial kind of curve around and meet with Tycoon. So this portion is being downgraded due to the density of development that's currently occurring in the junior high to the south. And so the major collector being proposed is also an 80-foot right-of-way. So it meets both the current and the future. And then West Fish Hatchery is designated a collector on the current master street plan, which is 60 feet of right-of-way. And the draft master street plan designates this road as a major collector as well. And so they have agreed to dedicate the 40 feet for our draft plan, our future plan. There is a proposed utility easement on the north property line, although we did receive comments recently that this may be addressed in an existing easement, so that might not be a requirement. But that's still one of the outstanding comments that's being confirmed by staff. There is a 100-foot overhead electric easement through kind of the southeast corner of the 80 acres. It kind of bends in the southeast corner, and that's shown on the plat. And all the lots have frontage and access. They meet our access requirements. There is also wetlands that are shown on this parcel that is being shown on this plat, and wetlands designation will be required at the time of development, but it's noted on this plat in the meantime. And other than a few outstanding comments, staff finds this plat to be in conformance with Centerton Municipal Code, contingent on those remaining comments being addressed. I do also know that there are some people in our attendees list that are interested in commenting though track splits don't necessarily have a public hearing. Jeff, if you'd like to open it up to hear their comments, I think there are people here wishing to speak.
Yeah, if I will go ahead and open it up for any comments or anything. And as everybody gets ready to do that, again, you just have to raise the hand, I believe, and then we'll be able to recognize you one at a time. Again, this evening, all they're asking for is a simple track split, I'll call it, dividing one piece of land into 3. It does not change any of the zoning, so they will remain as the R2 zoning. They're not asking for any of that to change this evening. They're just simply asking to split this. So with that, if you're recognized, what I would ask is that you state your name and your address, and then feel free to ask any questions or make any statements. So with that, Nicole, will you help me coordinate the folks?
Yes, absolutely. So there's Destin, who is Destin. Are you unmuted? You might be having some technical difficulties. Let's see, it just shows he has video capability and not audio, so I'm not able to unmute him manually.
Hey, if you can hear us, one of the things you may have to do is say join audio or something like that in order to be able to speak, if you happen to see that option on your lower screen.
While we figure out Destin, there is another hand. There's not a name associated with it. It's Galaxy S9. Can you state your name, Galaxy?
Yes, Diana Allen. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. I live at 201 Blake Drive. And I know this is just about the track split, but I was wondering a couple of things. One is when it talks about wetlands distinction, what does that mean for the property? I don't really know what that means. And then also at one time, I don't know if I'm using the right terminology or not, but on the north border of the property, there was a proposal, I think, by the city to make a collector that then would connect with like Blake and Shane and et cetera. So I wanted to know if that was still kind of on the book, so to speak. And then I don't know if this is the time to ask, but it is 3 differently shaped tracks. I was wondering if the one closest to Vaughn is maybe more business oriented building, and then the L-shaped one, which I think affects me the most, being on Blake. Are they still looking at apartments, or are they looking at single family duplexes? What kind of building are they looking at right now?
So I'm gonna answer the third question, then I'll probably refer the wetlands and the street piece to the staff. Again, we don't know. They're not asking to change anything. All they're simply asking from a building perspective. So they would still be limited to what could be built in the R2 zoning in order, to meet that. As far as along Vaughn Road, in our future, we have certainly asked for, folks to consider it, but it hasn't been, rezoned. So technically it's still going to be zoned as R2 residential at this time.
Okay, thank you.
And Nicole or Lorraine, do you guys want to touch base on the wetlands in the future for me?
So the wetland designation at this stage is just pulled from the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service inventory. They have a mapper that kind of gives you a sense of when you need to look at wetlands. And from there, the developer, if they start to develop, they'll have to get a determination on whether these wetlands are jurisdictional. I think there was some discussion about the south east corner of the property, that there is potentially a spring there that feeds the fish hatchery, and so that would be a very likely jurisdictional wetland, but they'd need determination at the time of development.
Which means they're not able to build, like, I guess what I want to know is the wetland like surface water? Is it groundwater? Is it prone to flooding? I don't know exactly what wetlands mean.
Joey, you may have a better technical understanding of how this is played out, but it kind of depends on what's determined and the type of wetland, whether development can occur, or if they have to develop a certain way because of the wetlands and preserving the wetlands. If somebody else has a better answer to that, feel free to jump in, but it depends on the
I know this one
determination.
on the corner is the one that has the rare fish on it, but that's all I know about them.
Yeah, I think the best answer for that tonight is just it does, and I think Nicole put it best. I mean, it raises a question for the developer that they have to, follow any guidelines or anything in regards to their development. Once they determine the types of wetland, is really probably the best answer for tonight, without getting into a lot of technical details about all the different types, if that makes sense.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. And
Then
then,
my other question was the connection to the roads. And also I have one more question. There's in the drawing it looks like between Shane and, I can't really read it, Haley, I guess. There's a little dotted sort of trail that goes from there to that pond that's in the corner. I wondered what that drawing was or is.
So there is currently a kind of dirt path that's been used to connect these streets.
Okay.
Lorraine might have a better explanation, but that's just showing the existing gravel drive.
I
Okay.
think she's talking about something that comes down towards the pond from there as well.
see where
Yeah.
it says R4 SBC wetlands?
Yeah.
Yes, right there, and then goes down. That
Yes.
must be like a stream or something, maybe,
It's
without.
the drainage path from Don and Callie.
All right, thanks, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
And then Nicole, on the future, did we leave this street in, or did we take that connector out? I don't remember off the top of my head. Do you remember, or Rick, do you remember?
I think we were planning on leaving that in, but we were trying to, with a couple of the other designs, we were working at an internal with the development was there, so it may change a little bit, but I believe that's still in the schedule. They do need that connection to the south out. That's going to be a growing area. The connection that they are showing between the two streets is actually on these people's property. They could stop that at any time and those two streets would be dead end. And I know those people depend on that because we have to maintain that for them to use it. So I do think this needs to be made a connection out to 279 or 279. Yes.
I'm hoping that's a dead end, but wasn't there a street like that was, is it Bradley or Monroe that was already planned as a connector, or am I wrong about that? Or I don't know if it's a connector, but a main road that would go north to south.
All of these streets were trying to connect and have it out at some point, whether it was to the south or it was to the west. These streets were all stubbed and not continued on in anticipation of this growth being in this area and this final connection made so that they would have a secondary out. We look at subdivisions and we've got a lot of dead end streets. We wouldn't design that or allow that now. And we've allowed that where firefighters have only got one way in. This is not a good situation. You know, we need that secondary access in case that road is blocked, that they've got a secondary way in, the police and the fire, to service these people in case of an emergency.
Right. I guess that's why I was wondering about, I don't remember the name of the street the post office is on, but I know it's wider and I know it has the yellow line down it. And so that's the one I was thinking was going to be the one that would connect. But like I said, I just remember that discussion in the past.
No, ma'am. Somehow these are all need to connect and have a secondary out.
Okay, I think that's all my questions. They still can come back and ask for rezoning, is that correct?
Yes, and again, the same notice would be given if they were to come back and request for a different zoning in this particular location.
Okay, thank you. That was all my questions.
Thank you. Nicole, were you able to get is it Dustin hooked up?
I believe so. It is showing that he has audio now. Dustin, can you speak?
Yes, Nicole. Yeah, sorry about that. When you would grant me access through the audio of the computer, it shut down for whatever reason, so I had to dial in. So I might be asking some similar questions because I couldn't hear the full conversation. But my name is Destin Cassiopo, and I do live on 215 Monroe Street in Centerton, the street of the post office. And so I did want to confirm is I think it's Blue and Associates. Are they on the line? Because I had 4 specific questions for them.
They are on the line, but depending on what it is, you know, if it's a very specific question, if it doesn't deal directly with the track split this evening, then they may or may not have to answer that question. So again, just keep in mind that this evening, what we're considering this track split fits within, you know, what we allow for the city, and does it conform to what it is from an R2 perspective. And so I will allow the questions, but understand if it gets to be very, very specific, that we or they may not have that at this time. But, go ahead.
Okay. All right, fair enough. And again, these might have been asked before, but I might have missed the answer to them. But I know that the land that's being requested is to be split into 3 separate tracks. And I wanted to ask specifically if what is the intentional use of both track 1 and track 2? I believe track 3 is looking for potentially commercial, but I wanted to ask for that specific thing.
Yeah, and I don't know that that they have to answer that particularly, because tonight all they're asking for is a split. And again, the only thing that they would be limited to would be the R2 at this time.
Okay, because I do know when we discussed this some time back with the R3 multifamily high density rezoning, they were attempting it previously, but I think that they said from there, I guess they're plotting that they would potentially have a golf course there if they were to build apartments. And so I wanted to see if the owner would be willing to talk about just and be able to answer that question. So I just prefer like a yes or no if they would be able to answer that question today.
It's up to you. The simple answer for that question is that we don't know which way we're going to proceed forward at this point. The track split is part of our process, and we're just trying to figure it out from there, but we don't have an answer as to what the final product is going to look like at this point.
Okay. All right. Well, then my second question is you know, I'm looking at the survey that was presented, and the R4 SBC wetlands shows an attachment to Monroe and Bradley within the Richfield subdivision. What will that impact when it comes to building? I know that there was mention at the tail end of when I called in a potential connector road that was being suggested. But I wanted to, what does that impact with that potential wetland hitting? It looks like it touches Bradley and potentially some of Monroe.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we don't know all the details, you know, just based off of this. What they have to do on the plat is they actually have to designate if there are the potential of the wetlands. And then from there, what they would do is they would have to, you know, adhere to the rules and regulations in order to do any sort of development in that particular area. But, you know, this evening, what we have to ask them to do is to make sure that they, you know, that those are designated on the particular plat.
Okay. All right. So I guess the intention, would that have any impact whatsoever that of determination, even to determine if it's going to be split into 3 tracks? So does that have any, does that negate any of it, or can they do it regardless of intention?
You mean as far as the wetlands or something else?
Well, yeah. Without, I'm just trying to confirm. So without sharing what the intentional uses of the land, they're able to still separate into 3 separate tracks without sharing the intentional use to the city. Correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Okay. All right. Then my next question is, if you're willing to share, whether it's residential or whether it's truly high density apartments where the full intention is there any intention by the city or 2888 LLC to give direct or indirect access to the disputed property that's south of Richfield, specifically Monroe and Bradley?
Yeah, I don't think without any sort of development plan that the developer or myself will be able to answer that. Again, this is just simply a split of the land, and then any future development would come back to us for us to see and potentially approve. But this evening, I don't know that necessarily has any bearing on the track split.
Okay. Is the developer willing to give us a date of when they intend to do a development plan to submit to the city?
I don't think there's an answer for that just yet. I mean, a lot of their projects do take quite a bit of time to figure out and make sure that they work properly. Obviously, there's a lot of factors that go into it, financial factors, there's economic factors, there's, population factors. There's just a numerous number of factors. In answer to your question, they haven't actually given me a date as to when they plan on proceeding forward with any other process in this project.
Okay. Well, I mean, all right, at this point, I'll share the comment that I will know for sure, having talked with practically everybody on Bradley Street, everyone on Monroe Street, and for sure Kelly Street, including the numerous neighbors, who are north of the property. The great majority, in fact, all of it from Richfield that I talked to are against having any type of collector street or any type of connection directly to the disputed property and everything. And so I guess my comment is there will be high opposition against that. So if nobody in the town wants that, I understand the secondary access for emergency vehicles. So I'm just going to give kind of a heads up for that. If there's an alternative, I mean, we'd be open to that, but direct or indirect access through a collector road in there is not what the citizens want north of that. And I'll be more than happy to share and collect again. I'll be able to collect signatures for that again if need be. So just wanted to share that, and I'm just hoping that's considered going forward, whether it's a rezone meeting or whether it's even with the track land. Just please be aware of that. So just wanted to share that comment. Thank you, though.
All right, thanks, Justin. And again, just a reminder, all of our meetings are open to the public, and everything is published. And until the the guidelines change and allow, our meetings in the future are still planned on being remote as they are right now. So please keep an eye out for the everything that gets published in regards to our agenda. So Nicole, is there anyone else from the audience that wishes to speak?
Yes, we have a Brandy raising their hand. Brandy, can you go ahead and unmute yourself and speak?
Hello, actually, this is Josh Trollinger. I live on 203 Blake Drive, 20-year resident. I just had a couple of comments. I just think it's important for the residents of Centerton to kind of preserve those wetlands, try to hang on to them as much as possible. There is a lot of building going on. I do know progression, you're not going to stop it. And then the second comment, I don't think the residents want any kind of connector road in there, anything that's going to connect from the south. So just wanted to bring that out to the open, but I do think it is important to try to, preserve our wetlands, but I'll let y'all talk about that. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Nicole, anyone else?
I am not seeing another hand.
Okay. With that, I would open it up to any of the commissioners that would have any questions, comments, or any of the concerns.
Jeff, this is Jerry, and my question, I realize probably has no bearing on whether we do a track split or not. But if you recall, whenever we were considering this issue, whenever they were with Lindsay, if you remember, the Game and Fish Commission claimed ownership of that 2 acres down there where that pond is at. And my curiosity is, has that been resolved, or do you have any idea about that?
I don't have any idea. George, do you know if anything was ever discovered out of that, or if it just kind of fell by the wayside?
My understanding is that they worked something out with the state, but I don't know that we've gotten into the details yet, since we haven't received any kind of development plan.
My apologies. I could not unmute this thing. I was unaware of the 2 acres. My surveyors, they go out and they go off of property records and what's given to us, title searches and that kind of answer. So if that did come up, it didn't come up as part of any of our research. However, I wasn't aware, so I wasn't prepared to answer that question tonight.
All right, thanks, George. So Jerry, it sounds like it's probably still something that may be outstanding that they'll have to, consider or deal with in the future as well.
Okay.
I'll make a note to get with the surveyor and applicant and get a follow-up, because that should be reflected on this plat if at all possible, unless it's been resolved in favor of the developer, then it can be shown as it is. But I'll make a note to follow up on that.
All right, thank you, guys. Any other questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the track split 20-06 2188 LLC property, again on 279 South, Vaughn Road and Fish Hatchery, approximately 80 acres.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve track split 2006 with the outstanding comments.
This is Tiffany. I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Ty Manning. You there, Ty? I'll go to Jerry Harris.
Yes.
Tiffany Morris.
Yes.
Amber Beal.
Yes.
Craig Langford.
Yes.
Devin Murphy.
Yes.
Joey Engel.
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes.
And then back to Ty Manning. Oh, Ty Manning just texted me, said he got disconnected. He's trying to get back on.
Okay, well, we won't count
He's back on.
He's back. Are you there, Ty? Yes, he said.
All right, so with that, we're going to move on to subdivision 1905, the Maple Estates Phase 2 preliminary plat, 1240 Silver Maple. It is R2, and it's 53 lots, 15.5 acres. And there are a couple of requested waivers in regards to this. And then is the developer on that wants to give us an overview?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
This is Diego Garcia with HFA. I'm the civil engineer on this project. We are requesting the approval of the preliminary plat for 52 residential lots and one unbuildable lot that's going to be used for detention. The waivers we're requesting are for the hydraulic grade line of 2 feet for storm sewer, the maintenance berm around the pond to be reduced from 10 feet to 5 feet, and the use of what were the other ones? Let's see. The minimum cover below pavement to be less than 18 inches. We're going to be using concrete class 3 for those pipes that we cannot achieve that cover. And I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Todd, were you able to catch his name? I apologize. I didn't catch his name at the beginning.
It's Diego Garcia.
Diego Garcia. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you. All right, Nicole, do you want to give us an overview from staff?
Yes, one moment. Okay. So this is phase 2 of Maple Estates. We had a phase 1A, B, and C previous to this. And this is connecting into phase 1B, essentially. Part of the, well, let me back up. There's 53 single family lots being proposed. There's one new detention lot, which is lot C. And I'll get into the details of this later, but lot B, which was originally platted with phase 1A, is being required to be replatted with phase 2 final plat. They are zoned R2, which is our medium density residential. They received a variance in 2016 permitting a lot width reduction of 10 feet to a minimum of 70 feet as long as they meet the overall area requirement of 8,500 square feet for R2. There is an off-site drainage easement being proposed on the south side to connect into the high school's drainage system, and they'll connect directly into it, so it'll all stay underground. And then they are proposing adjacent off-site street improvements along Wolverine Drive and along Cutbirth Lane. There was the existing Cutbirth Lane agreement required some improvements with phase 2, and originally phase 2 was going to be adjacent to Cutbirth Lane, and so they've had to reorganize the existing Cutbirth Lane agreement, and in so doing, we have agreed that they're responsible in this phase for the portion of Cutbirth Lane that connects to Sugar Maple Street, and the phase 1 portion of Maple Estates, and also the Wolverine Drive improvements along this phase of Maple Estates. Part of the agreement for the original subdivision design, typically because Wolverine Drive is designated a collector street, we would typically limit the amount of drives onto the collector street. But this subdivision and Diamond to the south were allowed to basically use Wolverine Drive as an internal street. And so with that requirement, they are having to build basically a local street for Wolverine Drive with this subdivision. So it's a modified half street improvement along Wolverine Drive. And that same section is being completed with the Cutbirth Lane section as well. So that adjacent street improvement agreement is for your approval this evening. They also have waiver requests for drainage requirements, as Diego mentioned, which are in your packets. We have added one additional waiver because there was an encroachment issue with the platted detention pond lot B and the lot 66 of phase 1C. You can see there's a little overlap in the northeast corner of the detention pond lot. And staff has reviewed this with the developer and their engineer and surveyor. And we have discussed the possibility of keeping lot 66 lot line and keeping that property line and replatting lot B, and that will be maintained throughout the north line of the entire phase 2. And that will create an encroachment into a 10-foot maintainable area that was originally part of this detention pond. So that is also a waiver for your consideration. The new pond also has a limited maintainable area around it, but they have met 5 feet on all sides. And this area is basically a strip of retention pond, and it'll be along the rear lots of these phase 2 lots, but also along the rear lots of the future phase lots as well. Let's see. They are currently in the process of working out the extra right-of-way needed for Wolverine, and that proof of ownership will be needed prior to construction, to moving to the construction phase, so prior to scheduling a pre-con meeting. I guess are there any questions for me on any of those items?
Do any of the
There
commission
are some minor remaining comments, but staff is comfortable with the waiver requests as proposed, and the adjacent street agreement. We've recently received revisions to that agreement to make sure that it's organized, because they're both proposing new phase 2 improvements and amending the previous Cutbirth Lane agreement. So we've kind of clarified those two roles of the agreement.
And I do want to add, this is Lorraine, that they will need to include this lot B, the detention pond, with this phasing. So their preliminary plat will need to include that pond.
Any other questions or comments, concerns from any of the planning commissioners? If there's no comments, questions, or concerns, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 1905, the Maple Estates Phase 2. Again, this is the preliminary plats. That would also include the approval of the waivers that they have requested as well.
Hey guys, we're getting a lot of feedback. Can everybody mute your phone if you're not?
Hey, Gil,
being
turn
tweeted?
your phone on mute, Gil.
Sounds like Gil's digging a hole.
I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 1905 Maple Estates Phase 2 with the presented waivers.
Tiffany, and I'll second.
Are public comments allowed on this?
Yes, I will go ahead and entertain any public comments. We would again ask that you would state your name, address, and then and then your question, comment, or concern.
Yes, Cody Harper, I live at 1050 Silver Maple, the first resident in Maple Estates. I would just like a brief on how, if we are giving these waivers on the drainage, how it will affect the drainage in the subdivision, as we already have some pretty significant drainage issues.
Nicole, do you want to touch base on that, or?
I can, and I believe John is also on the phone. If he can, let me see. I'm gonna try to unmute. John, can you hear us?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, this is John Worry. So the question was about how does this phase affect existing drainage in phase one?
Yes, we already have in phase one, we have some very significant drainage issues, and a lot of it is going in that direction. So if we give any waivers to, is this a waiver to the benefit of the neighborhood or a waiver to the benefit of the developer? And how is that going to affect the other phases?
I don't think the development plan for phase two, the way it's presented, will affect the drainage in phase one at all. The existing detention pond in phase one will be interconnected with the new detention pond in phase two. But again, they function together, but pretty much independent. Because the water surface of the phase one pond is higher than the phase two pond, so it shouldn't really affect any of the drainage in phase two. So I don't see that it would improve it or adversely impact it either way.
Okay, so the waivers that are being requested are to do what? Besides,
let me jump in here real quick, Cody. I think, and John can confirm this, but really what they're asking for is the type of drainage and the way that it's constructed, more so than trying to rearrange the drainage. And that's a layman's term. I don't know if John, or I see Rick popped up there, if anybody else wants to give more detail, but essentially they're just asking for a different way to construct it versus maybe some other ways. And I don't know, again, Rick, that's kind of a layman's term.
Yeah, and I don't think these waivers, again, they don't affect phase one. So for example, the hydraulic grade line, essentially the development code requires that the level, the top of the water that's flowing in the pipe be 2 feet below the ground surface in a 10-year event. And when they originally were designing this, they had some issues with that. The final design has one location in the subdivision where it's within 1/10 of being 2 feet. So it's really a minor technicality that they've got to get a waiver on. As far as the cover, I think there's a couple curb inlet locations where the depressed inlet, where the gutter depresses to go into the inlet. A couple locations, their covers significantly reduced from the requirement. To meet the requirement, they'd have to try to flatten the storm sewers out, and it would be very difficult to get the capacities by doing that. So
Cody, I'd like to
there's some.
something. The biggest portion of the problems with drainage system in phase one was the property to the north and northwest and northeast of you. The development of Ashmore's property, that's all been corrected. That's all been taken through underground sewer now. It connects just to the northeast, northwest of your property. The final connection is being made this week. They're constructing that drop inlet manhole. And that's, I had called you earlier this week. The developer can fill in that ditch and all. It was built on your property to correct this issue as an interim. And that's all going away at this point. You shouldn't have any more issues there.
I appreciate that. I just wanted to make sure I got onto one of these open forums and asked the question.
Yeah, you just need to check with your developer now and make sure he fills in that ditch. It's on your property and you should be in great shape.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Cody.
Thank you.
All right, Todd, will you remind me, we did have a motion and a second, is that correct?
Yes, Joey made the motion, Tiffany made the second.
All right, perfect. So with that, we have a motion and a second. So Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right, next on the agenda this evening is the subdivision 20-01, Brookside Estates preliminary plat. This is at the southwest corner of Brookside and Rainbow Farms Road, R2, 140 lots. We're going to round to 40 acres. Is this the one that they thought they may be a little bit late, Nicole?
This is, let me see, Jason, are you, I do see Jason. Let me allow him to speak. Make
Perfect.
sure-
I'm
Jason,
here.
if you-
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jason, just give us an overview if you will, please.
Sure. Just a correction. It's 142 single family lots instead of 140. Oh, it does say 142. I see Nicole's report now. The agenda had said 140. Yeah, we brought this through in a rezone a couple months ago. It's taken us a minute to get the planning commission here. I believe we've addressed the majority of staff's comments. I think we're going to improve the drainage in this area, especially for development to the north, or those existing homes to the north. I think they're gonna see an improved drainage situation there, as well as along Rainbow Farm Road. I think we're gonna improve drainage coming that direction as well. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions you may have.
All right, Nicole, do you want to give us an overview of this one as well?
Yes.
Jason,
So, and
sorry, Jason, if you'll mute, just so we don't get some background noise from you as well, please. Thanks.
okay, so again, it's roughly 40 acres at the southwest corner of Brookside Road and Rainbow Farms Road. Let me switch to this actual plat page. It is zoned, you all saw a rezone in February for this property to R3 single family, which is our high density single family residential zoning. There are wetlands again being shown on this property, and determination will be needed prior to construction. I don't believe at this time that's been completed, but we won't go to pre-con until a determination has been completed. There is an offsite drainage easement being proposed that will also be required prior to going to construction. That's shown in the southwest corner of the property. There is I believe it's Little Osage Creek floodplain in that area that the property will discharge into. There are 4 waiver requests for this project regarding drainage requirements. They're asking for a square storm drain box, they're wanting to do round storm boxes proposed. They're also asking for the pipe material, and then the curb inlet spacing requirement of 400 feet. They're proposing 450 and 460 intervals. And then there is per the drainage analysis, an increase in the peak discharge at the northwest discharge point that requires a waiver. And we can go into the details of that in a moment. They are proposing improvements to Brookside Road and to Rainbow Farms Road. And in addition to those, there is a planned future extension of Shell Road which is not on our current master street plan. So it wasn't an adjacent improvement requirement, but the developer has agreed to dedicate that right of way along the south property line. And a little taper for bridge construction in the future that will need to cross over the creek there. As far as I know this afternoon, the adjacent street improvement agreement had not been solidified or approved by staff. Jason and Rick, do you mind speaking to that real quick? In particular, this would be along Rainbow Farms Road.
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, the geotechnical engineer is still working on his report. He's gotten a little behind. As you know, development is at a peak, even though the COVID-19 has got a lot of people subsided. We're still moving forward. And he did not get that in time for the meeting. I know that Rick met last week with the geotechnical engineer on site, and they did some additional borings, and we're still waiting for that report. But of course, we can work that out with Rick to the satisfaction of the city. I think it's a work in progress, but we just don't quite have it yet. I think we're close, but we're not there yet.
I think we're very close. We've got two possible solutions, and we just need his report to back it up. And I think we're close.
And Laureen, I might need you to weigh in, or Jeff. Would we need them to come back for the Planning Commission's approval of the adjacent street improvement agreement, since we don't have the details of that fleshed out for Brookside, or I'm sorry, for Rainbow Farms Road?
I would say yes. We typically do bring back, make sure that we get that approval on the adjacent road improvements from the commission. And well, I believe now we've also added that the chair will sign off on those, on that approval.
Can I just add in, and I know moving forward you have, but precedent was set with Ashmore Landing subdivision. That subdivision was approved prior to that agreement was made. And I know you guys tried to get those before, but I'll just say that one was approved without it. So.
Right.
We have no problem. I mean, if you approve the subdivision tonight, we're going to bring that back through you in 2 weeks. We should have it worked out. We're not going to start construction in 2 weeks, so we'll have time to work it out.
Right. We're just saying that the agreement will need to come back to the commission for approval.
Okay, so in addition to that, there is a lift station being proposed in the southwest corner of the site, in a force main that extends along the frontage of the western lots, and then up Daisy Road to connect to, I believe, the line on Kimmel and Daisy. The lot A in the southwest corner of the lot is a proposed park, but it also routes the stormwater across that lot and through the drainage easement to the creek. Jason, could you speak to any plans for programming that site, or there's a bit of topography on that lot for a traditional park, I guess.
Yes, if the city is uncomfortable with accepting that, I would have to speak with the developer, but I would say that it would become it would still be owned by the POA until something could be done with it. It does accept drainage. It's pretty much just a ravine. It's a natural hollow that comes through the property now. So it is a natural discharge for water. However, sometimes parks, if you're at a park, you're not in a park when it's raining. Hopefully not anyway. And it could be kind of a nice feature to have with the park, but I can't answer with any kind of solid answer as to what he plans on doing with it at this point. Other than the POA would have to maintain it and own it.
Okay. And then John or Jason, do either of you, will either of you speak to the waiver request for the peak flow from the northwest discharge point? That would be along Brookside Road. The drainage analysis is showing an increase to the peak discharge.
I'll let John answer and then respond after that.
John, are you still available?
Are you there?
There we go.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you, John.
Okay. Yeah, Jason. Yeah, thank you for letting me take this one. So there's a drainage area along the north side of the property that currently drains across Brookside onto the neighbor. And it's my understanding the neighbor experiences water running across the yard and ponding in their yard. And they've actually contacted us independent of this development in the past to look at this drainage issue for them. But so regardless, what the engineer is doing is taking that water that used to run across Brookside onto the neighboring property and routing it to the west along the south side of Brookside about 1,000 feet to the creek. So he's going to build a improved channel from this development to the creek that'll carry the 100-year event. In lieu of, and with this design, he is going to increase the amount of water going to the west. He's taking that water that was going north and taking it west. So that increases the amount of water going to the west. So there is an increase. Technically, the ordinance, the drainage manual does not allow an increase. But because of what he's doing and the fact that he's going to build a channel to contain the 100-year event to the creek, then I'm in support of his waiver for the increase in runoff to the west. Does that answer any questions?
Yes. Hey, John, this is Joey. Is that dumping right into the creek there?
Yeah, the creek crosses Brookside about 1,100 feet west of Brookside's northwest corner. So he will construct a channel, an open channel from his northwest corner all the way to the creek and dump into the creek. Now, one condition of this is that he's going to have to get a drainage easement from the property owner to the west.
Got it.
Which would make the property owner to the west be aware of what's going on.
Thanks,
And
John.
those offsite
welcome.
easements are required prior to going to construction phase. So prior to a pre-con, those will be required.
That's correct.
There are remaining staff comments in the drainage analysis has not yet received engineer approval, but I believe it is close. John, you might speak to that.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the status of this. I think the discharge to the west that we just discussed was one of the items, and I think my comment was I support the waiver if the commission grants a waiver, as long as he can get a drainage easement from the neighbor to the west for this ditch. I think there might have been a couple minor comments about, might have been some information on the plans that differed from the report just a little bit that you need to correct, but generally speaking, I think all the comments that I had were pretty minor.
I think the big question mark that still needs resolution is the adjacent street improvements to Rainbow Farms. But again, we're able to bring that back to you at a future meeting, should you decide to proceed.
This is Joey. I got a couple questions for Rick on these waivers. The first one is a square storm drain box requirement. Everybody builds around storm boxes. We know that. Never seen that waiver request before. The storm drain material, typically a lot of people are doing ADS, HDPE. And then the curb inlet spacing, that's dictated on spread. So I'm just wondering why we're seeing these waivers.
That's something the planning department wanted just to clean up paperwork. It is really the old square boxes are obsolete and out of date, in my opinion. These are so much cleaner and quicker and stronger to build. The plastic pipe is got a better life expectancy, so it's no reason to, in my mind, to go with the older pipe. It's just something we need to get cleaned up in our code book, actually, more so than anything. We're working on that as quick as we can, but with everything growing the way it is, we don't have time to. But it was something planning wanted just to document everything and bring it before y'all. But it should be the norm instead of a waiver request.
Right, and that's why I was asking, it's because we typically haven't seen these kind of waivers before, so I was just wondering. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I think we're at the end. And so thanks everybody for the input. And of course, each one of these are supported and we'll see the street improvement at a future meeting. So with that, are there any other questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners?
Jeff, I have a question on the northeast corner of that property. There's a huge pond, and heavy rains, that water kind of runs out onto the street there. I wonder, has that issue been addressed?
If I can answer to that, yes, we're going to fill that pond in, and all the drainage from Brookside is going to go west instead of crossing north to those properties.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Any other questions from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for the preliminary plat, subdivision 20-01, the Brookside Estates. Again, it's R2, 142 lots, right at 40 acres. And again, there are the waivers that are requested in this, so that would be part of the motion.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 2001 with the 4 requested waivers that we just discussed and any outstanding staff comments.
This is Craig. I will second.
We have a motion and a second. Todd, if you'll do a roll call for me.
Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right, thank you guys. All right, next on the agenda this evening is subdivision 20-03, short subdivision. It's a minor, it's a final plat on Short Road. It is A1, 422 acres. Is the applicant here, or Donna, are you going to give us an overview of this one?
Tim said he was going to be here.
Does anybody see Tim on?
I don't see him on the attendees list.
All right, Donna?
All right. So the parcel is 422 acres. The plan is, first, this is a minor subdivision. The plan is to split the parcels into 5 tracts. These are going to be very big tracts, so this is not a typical subdivision. One tract will be about 112 acres. Another is going to be 62. Another is going to be 40. Another will be 134. And the last one will be 79. I will have a map pulled up shortly. So each of these is going to have access to roads, Short and Pumpkin Hollow. These are both arterials. Short is a minor arterial with 90 foot of total right-of-way. Pumpkin Hollow is a major arterial. On the plan, proposed master streets plan, it will have 100 foot of total right-of-way. We are not asking for right-of-way dedication. Bella Vista is. On the blue lines you can see here, this property sits in 3 planning areas. So north of the Bella Vista bypass is Bella Vista and Bentonville. To the south is Centerton. So Bella Vista is requesting a total of 60 foot right-of-way dedication for their roads. They are willing to do that. So we are just waiting on confirmation that the plat as it's been shown meets their standards. So we'll need to get Benton County signature. But we won't need to give it to City Council. So this is just for your action. So we are also not asking for any street improvements because this is just 5 lots. It's just a family splitting the property for more members of the family. There is rural water mains on the property. There's also fiber and power. The water mains, they will work for the properties as they're being divided now. If there was ever any further development down the line, they would need to be developed, but there's no plans for that at this time. There is septic with the existing house. We're not asking for any septic locations to be shown with this plan because the properties are so large. There are also several dry creek beds that are shown on the national inventory map. They've been shown on the plans. This plat has been further detailed onto some 200 scale plans, but they cannot be shown at 200 scale on one sheet. So they're not included here. But there are a couple of staff comments. They're generally cleanup, but overall this meets Centerton code. So we're just working with Bella Vista to make sure that it meets the last bit of their comments, but we've gotten confirmation from Bella Vista and Bentonville that they are good with us making all the final decisions. And then we need to get Benton County signature for the right application.
Thank you, Donna. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns from any of the commissioners? If not, then I would entertain a motion for subdivision 2003. Short subdivision, again, it's a minor final plat, and it's on Short Road.
This is Joey. I'll make a motion to approve subdivision 2003 short subdivision with the outstanding comments.
Tiffany, I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Todd, will you do roll call for me, please?
Ty Manning,
Yes.
Jerry Harris,
Yes.
Tiffany Morris,
Yes.
Amber Beal,
Yes.
Craig Langford,
Yes.
Devin Murphy,
Yes.
Joey Engel,
Yes.
Jeff Seifarth.
Yes. All right. Next on the agenda is subdivision 1912 Bliss Street duplex subdivision preliminary plat 864 Bliss, approximately 8 acres, 54 lots, zoned RTHD. This is for discussion of the only for the design and proposed waivers and variances. Is Christian with us? Is he going to give us an overview?
Christian, you're unmuted. You can speak.
Hey, Christian, are you there to give us an overview of what you guys are asking for?
Can anybody hear me?
Yes.
Cool. This is Christian McGuire with Bates and Associates, and this evening I am presenting to you a preliminary plat for a 50-lot subdivision along Bliss Street. The property is owned RTHD, duplex or twin homes. We are proposing 50 units on 8.15 acres, which comes out to be 6.13 units per acre. Wanted to bring this by you guys this evening to discuss 4 waivers and 4 variances we are seeking to accommodate the development of the 50 lots. The main one being the reduced lot width for the lots you see in the interior right there. Those all being reduced from 42.5 to 40. And then all the side setbacks being changed from 10 feet to 7 feet. And then we have an issue with the corner lots there on the north, on the ones along the radius. The code states I have to meet 80% of the frontage requirement. So required 42.5, 80% is 34. We're getting under 34 for those lots up there you see shaded in blue. And then there are a few waivers we're requesting along with this. The max width of a driveway kind of along with that variance for the frontage widths. A waiver for the driveway width, which can exceed half the lot width. Since those will be on the radius, the driveway will take up a little more than half those lot widths. And then we're seeking another waiver for down there on the bottom left. We have to be at least 30, the driveway has to be at least 30 feet away from the radius of the entrance. It's going to be about 25, but luckily it's on the outbound lane, so it shouldn't disturb any incoming traffic. And then an additional waiver for the 10-foot maintainable area around the detention pond. I was able to get an 8-foot berm. Possibly could get 2 more feet, but wanted to go ahead and ask for this waiver because we're needing as much room as we can get for that pond. And I haven't discussed this with Donna, but I was able to get rid of one of the waivers for the 100-year water surface into the utility easement there on the east, Donna. I was able to resize that pond and get that out of there, so I'm not seeking that waiver anymore. But yeah, I just wanted to put this in front of you guys to see what y'all thought, what are the concerns, and go from there.
Donna, do you want to go ahead and give us an overview from staff perspective, and then I'll open it up to any of the commissioners for comments or questions?
Sure. So what I've done is I've gone through the report and we got a new submittal yesterday. So what I did was I went through each item and put specifically the plan area in discussion and notated specifically points of discussion. Because there's so many different items, it might actually be easier to discuss points individually rather than trying to do an overall discussion of everything at once.
This one we've already skipped over because he took this one off. Is that correct?
We're not
Correct.
voting on this one. So this one, the 100-year flood elevation has been removed. It's no longer intruding into the 20-year utility easement, but the top of the pond is still intruding into the utility easement. So there is still slope that is going into the utility easement. So we have some concerns about that. So if we could go back. So the 100-year pond elevation is the blue line. The red areas are the sloped part of the ponds that goes into the 20-foot utility easements. So this is the new plan that we received yesterday.
I do see that it was Public Works and Utilities supported this new one, or was that based on the old one as well?
But these are all based on the old ones. The new plans have not been distributed for comment because we did not want to distribute the new set given that this meeting was going to be happening the day after, and it was unlikely that we were going to be able to get comments back in time for the meeting. And it was likely that things were going to be changing before we had any significant response. So the support comments are based on the old plans.
Okay, thanks.
So the 100-year intruding into the 20 utility easement, that has been removed, but the pond itself is still intruding.
I guess my question is, that will not change if we do not grant any of the variances from a lot width perspective, will it?
This is how far they have gotten with that, with the reduction of all of those interior lots from 42.5 to 40 feet. So we've already had them even consider, what if you did this? And this is still where the pond is ending up.
To answer your question, Jeff, no, it shouldn't.
All right, thanks, Joey.
All right, so, and then the next one is with the maintainable area around this. So next, please. So the maintainable area can be in a utility easement because it's flat. So the blue is in the utility easement. So we do not have an issue with that because it's flat. However, on the north side, it's in a private lot. So that is something that we do not want to see.
Christian, what are your thoughts on that?
We have those building setbacks for lots 30, 31, and 51 set back quite far from the 100-year water surface elevation. We got it at 28 feet right now. I would be open to the possibility of putting a drainage easement along that portion of that 8-foot berm to make sure that no structures are built over that, and then that portion of the berm can be maintained. It still wouldn't affect the buildable area of lots 31 and 50. And I could still get my berm, but yes, technically it does encroach into that lot.
Okay.
All right, what are your thoughts?
I mean, overall, this development, it just feels like you're just trying to cram a whole bunch of lots in there. And I think this is just kind of evidence of that. You know, it's shrink the lots as much as possible, change the setbacks. I guess generally speaking, there's a lot not to like about this, and I think this is just one of those things.
I can see where that point. Could I just interject here, please?
You can. I wasn't going to go there yet, but yeah, go ahead, Christian.
We did not change the lot widths for any of the exterior lots, all the ones along the outside. Those still maintain their setbacks with their neighbors, providing, I think, what the intent of the code is as far as separation between this and adjoining property. What we were looking for these interior lots was enough room to make it work for the number of lots we're proposing. We end up with this funny space left over if we go with a 42.5, that if we just shrink it down to 40, then we can get lots 41, 40, 42, and 39 to work, which makes this feasible for the developer. And though all those lots still maintain their minimum lot area, which is a 4,250 per the zoning. And as far as overall density of the development, with the 50 lots, that comes out to 6.1 units per acre. And the RTHD zoning, you're allowed a 10.25 units per acre if you go strictly with the 4,250 required lot area per acre, or if that makes sense.
Ty, I'm going to agree with you. This is Joey. It feels like this is 10 pounds and 5 pound stack here. And the 4 variances, some of the waivers I don't disagree with. But I think if you want to do this, I mean, you've been down the PUD road before. If we want to start cramming stuff in here, that's the route I would recommend.
Donna, I'm going to go back to the waivers, and let's go through the waivers, and then we'll come back to the variances. And then we'll go from there. Okay.
Okay. All right, can we go back to that page then?
And
Okay.
and I think this one may answer itself based on one of the variances, but unfortunately we have to consider it, you know, kind of together. So that, you know, extending over into 50 and 31 may ultimately lead us down a different path.
Okay, so shall we move on then?
Yes, let's move on to the next one, please.
All right. So this waiver is for the maximum width of the driveways exceeding 1/2 of the lot width. We did, on the plans we received yesterday, receive updated exhibits, and we received 19 through 21. On the previous set, Public Works had supported it, and Fire and Utility had no comment. If we could go to the next page, that actually has the exhibits on it. So based on the exhibits, it looks like 13 and 14 will fit once we extend the driveways all the way to the curbs. But when we extend the setbacks, the utility easements, it's 12, 20, and 21. They will interfere with the utilities, and lot 21 looks like it will actually hit the fire access lane. So planning recommendation, we are not opposed to this waiver in and of itself, but only if it actually will work and will not interfere with utilities.
Do you think it's going to be feasible from a structure perspective as well? I know we run into these corner lots, especially these that are divided. They seem to run into a lot. Do you think the structure is going to be acceptable as well?
I'm not quite sure what you're asking.
The building itself, I was trying to look at the lots. I know this is a little different than that, but because they try to squeeze not only the drive, but then they also try to make it work in with the structure. Is there going to be enough buildable space on that lot to then accommodate the drive and everything else is my question.
The RTHD plans we received, the garage is going to be the front of the building, and then the rest of it is going to be set back. So.
Okay, thanks.
So I guess overall, my thing is I don't really have a problem with these corner lots. I think my issue's got to do with green space. You know, I just picture this development built up as designed right here, and you're gonna have people parking on, you know, flooding the driveways. People are gonna be parking out on the roads. You know, it's going to be a whole bunch of concrete and cars parking on the streets and not a lot of green space. I mean, it just seems like an undesirable, overall undesirable development for the community. I mean, I think if we could, you know, add some green space somehow, you know, it'd be a lot more palatable, you know, on some of these variances and things.
Yeah, and I think when we get to the variances, Ty, is exactly when we're going to hit some of those. You know, we have to consider the waivers first. And if we do consider, you know, we want to support the waiver, which again, a little bit of guidance from, you know, the staff in regards to this one. But, you know, I think we're going to get to the green space when we go back up to cover the variances for sure. But in regards to the driveway, you know, piece here with it fitting in, you know, understand a few of the concerns in a couple of lots with the, you know, utilities and stuff. I mean, overall with the staff, you know, supporting this one, you know, this one maybe one that we could consider. Okay. I don't know if anybody has any other concerns about that, but I do think we'll address the other things, Ty, whenever we get there.
Given that we haven't had a chance to actually distribute this one, Engineering and Public Works haven't had a chance to actually look at how this interacts with the fire lane and the turns. So staff hasn't had a chance to really review this as well, so.
Okay. Do you want to go on to the next one, Donna?
Sure. All right. This is the driveway closer than 30 foot to the beginning of a curb intersection radius. So this is the drive for the lots 1 and 2 on the west side. The one on the left is the exhibit we received on the previous plan for a single drive approach that would have gotten the driveway out of the 30 foot. The one on the right is the one we received yesterday. And after looking at the single drive approach, we generally believe that the 20 foot on each lane would be a better approach, and that it would probably be a safer, preferable build condition. So we're recommending that they apply for the waiver for the beginning of the curb intersection radius rather than this other exhibit that they've presented to us.
So Jeff, are we able to comment on these or no?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was about to give a comment on this one. Go ahead, Ty.
Okay. Again, it's the same idea. We're trying to cram too much in there, you know, so I don't like the idea of approving, you know, something like this when the overall, when it's just more evidence of the overall design concept, I think being wrong.
So what about the drive on lot 1? Would it interfere as well, or just 2?
1 is the one that's closer to the intersection.
It
Number
would
2
be 25 feet away rather than the 30.
Okay. Yeah, overall, I mean, I think, and Ty briefly brought up, you know, parking earlier, but I would almost have some concerns about, you know, on-street parking, you know, that close to the intersection. I don't know, Donna, if you guys have thought about that, or Christian, if you guys have thought about that, but I have some concern about that as well.
I understand the concern, but we aren't proposing any on-street parking. We're providing the required parking per unit as required per code, which is 2 per unit. These are getting double car garages. And I understand the sentiment about trying to fit too much, but I feel like we're just trying to play with the geometry here of what we got. We're, you know, with the 2 entrances coming in and just trying to get it all to work right. We just need a few little variations. But as far as density goes in green space, the maximum lot coverage will not exceed the 40%. We made sure to include a table in the preliminary plat dictating such. Also, as I mentioned earlier, the density is 40% below what the maximum allowed density is in RTHD. So those would be my counterpoints to.
So my counterpoint to that is maybe if we didn't do the lot reduction of 40 to 40, or from 42.5 to 40, you might have enough room for your pond and to fix some of these driveway issues.
Yeah.
There are issues because they don't quite adhere to code, but as far as functionality, I think we have solutions to make everything work.
Jeff, this is Jerry. As I understood what Donna said, that Public Works has not had the opportunity to review this. Perhaps we should table it till they have a chance to make their comments.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily want to.
They've reviewed the old one. They've not had a chance to review what we received yesterday.
Yeah. And Jerry, I don't just want to table it because I want to be able to give Christian the appropriate input, which is what he asked for from his initial design. And so that's the reason I don't just want to table it because we're going to see this again. He's not asking for approval this evening. He's just simply asking for our input.
Okay.
All right, and I agree. I do think, the input from, the Public Works would be good in regards to the last waiver. Again, I do have some concerns about that close up to the intersection, but we'll also let, Rick and his team weigh in on that as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go up to the variance requests. And the first variance request is a reduction to the side setback from 7 to 10 feet on all lots.
Okay. So the idea with this one was that for the lots where there was the lot width reduction from the 42 foot to 40, that they would then be able to have the side setback reduction to be able to still fit in the house plan. So it was,
So they get all the benefits of the bigger lot just by reducing the setback?
yes. So it was intended to go with the lot width reduction. So for like the suggestion for this one was with the idea was this was that when they, with the previous submittal, the detention pond just wasn't fitting. So it was a suggestion so that they would be able to get it to fit. So that the plans, the house plans could manage to still have the buildable area that they needed, but be able to fit within the lots.
Just to be 100% frank here, I don't know how they have any leg to stand on with regards in the variance process. This all seems self-imposed, dictated by this layout. So I think all these variances are going to be very hard to come by. That's just
Yeah,
my
I mean,
opinion right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's my thought as well. It all goes back to the same concept. I mean, it's almost a waste of time going through each of these variances one by one when the problem is don't put 50 lots on there. You know, put less lots and yeah, we know it affects the numbers from the developer's perspective. You know, we get that, but you know, you've got to let go of some of these lots.
I agree, Ty.
So Christian, I don't know if you want to comment. I mean, I think that sentiment came pretty early on in the discussion.
Yeah.
You know, as we
Jeff.
go through, you know, each one of these variances in a meeting, you know, hardship is one of the, you know, big things that we will go through and, you know, have discussion on. So, you know, with that, it's not that I want to discount being able to go through these. And Ty, I do want to give him the opportunity to at least, you know, have a discussion or, you know, ask any questions that may give him some guidance in regards to being able to come back to us in the future.
Well, I mean, yes, it's good. We need to give some direct guidance so that they have something to work off of so that they can bring us something, you know, revised that meets our requirements.
However, like the code.
Yeah, like I don't want to say, yeah, you know, let's reduce the side setbacks from 7 foot to 10 foot, you know, when that doesn't make sense. There's no reason to do it. I would say take it back to design, reduce the number of lots, and then bring it back to us for, you know, a couple variances on, you know, because you have extenuating circumstances. I don't see any extenuating circumstances.
Christian, are there any other things that you would want to provide us that may help us in our discussion this evening?
dedication of right of way from the property line kind of edged into our side more. Typically, we dedicate it from the center line of the street, but dedicating it from the property line cut into the property 6 additional feet there on the west and about 3 on the east. But that in itself kind of bumped everything back. And then we got constrained with lining up that east entrance with Sun Meadows, also providing the fire access, which I understand we're required to have, but you know, these are things I'm just trying to work around, and as you guys noted, just to get this to work for the developer. Looking at it, if we were to follow all the rules, that cuts it back from 50 to 44. We lose 6 units, so, or 3 buildings essentially, dropping it down to 5.4 units per acre. But I just have to keep coming back that we're within, you know, the density allowed by zoning. I mean, this lot, we have to have that fire access to the east, so that 24-foot fire lane kind of eats away our real estate. And then we have these easements running along the front that kind of, you know, eat up some of the area for our detention pond. And if I were to move the detention pond over on the west side, it would take up 4 lots, and then I couldn't get driveways to come in off that bend on the east. So I'm just trying to figure the most optimal way to make this work. And I appreciate everybody's feedback. But, you know, I'm just trying to see what the city of Centerton will be comfortable providing.
Okay, I'd like to, this is Lorraine, and I would like to mention a couple of things. As far as the right-of-way from the property line, this piece of property has been brought to the city several times with different layouts. One, it was kind of like homes that for retirement that was open space, and then they created lots for each one. And that's where the RTHD zoning came from. They had one entrance off of Sun Meadows, and their second entrance was where the fire lane is showing off of Gamble. And then the street looped around, and the detention pond was in the southwest corner. And what they had originally proposed were 40 lots. They had a clubhouse at the entrance and so forth. But that dedicating right-of-way from the property line on Bliss Street, that was in the original design. And I saw Jeff had a question, that he said to keep in mind that these are duplexes, not single-family homes. This is zoned as residential townhomes, where each unit is its own single-family unit. If that's not the zoning that you're going for with this, then this needs to be rezoned as either an R2 duplex or R3 duplex, something different, and then it has different requirements. But we've tried everything to get this detention pond to fit here and come out, and things just, like you said, aren't working. They're so tight. So, but I just wanted to add in a few things. There have been other designs on this. You have 2 streets coming off of Bliss now, where, before there was one that looped around. And yes, you would probably lose, 4 units unless you did something where you had a duplex that was combined at the end lot, something like that. But it's tight, very tight.
To add to what Lorraine was saying, actually, by one of the previous designs, the detention pond was being built in the southwest corner. It was started construction and the developer stopped. So it's changed from where it was in one of the previous designs already.
Yeah, so Christian, I think, take the feedback. And again, Lorraine, answered Jeff's question. I saw it pop up there in regards. So that may be some discussion for you guys around the zoning and the requirements. This is very tight, and you're asking for a lot of variances and a lot of waivers to fit things in from it sounds like from a complete financial perspective. And so I would encourage you to go back. If there's a handful of variances or waivers, it makes it much easier for us to consider, makes it easier for us to, take a look at and discuss each one of them. But I would say that, based on, some blanket waivers in large pieces, it's, we're going to struggle as a commission approving it.
Okay. Well, I appreciate the feedback from everybody. I'll get with Maureen and Donna and see what we can come up with and come back in 2 weeks.
Okay, thank you. All right, under other business, there was a Bentonville rezone, I guess, at the corner of Centerton Boulevard and Tater Black from A1 to C2.
Oh, that's me. I just wanted to let you know that Bentonville Planning did send this to us for notification. And of course, this is, our great corner that has all the accidents, but they are asking for commercial zoning, which along Centerton Boulevard, I think I have a map on the next page that shows what we have for our land use. But across the street, of course, there's residential on the Fox Club and the Sage, but then there's a commercial along Centerton Boulevard. So as far as our land use plan, it fits in well. So if anyone else has some concerns that they would like to express to their planning commission, I'll be happy to submit those.
I have some info for everybody. I looked at this today. The driveway off of 102 is a shared driveway on their western property line, trying to get it as far back from Tater Black as possible. And then their driveway on Tater Black is along their northern property line, again, trying to get away from that intersection. So I think they've done kind of all they can to try to mitigate the traffic there. But I know you guys don't have the design plans, but I just want to bring that up.
We need a roundabout there.
I agree.
Agreed. Agreed. Well, the chicken roundabout.
There's actually a KFC to the east of it that's planned too.
I was trying to remember what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't think there's any comments that we need to share. So thanks for letting us know, Lorraine.
Okay.
Next, under announcements, our next planning commission meeting is scheduled for May 5th. And I would just say, at this time, stay tight to email, and we'll plan on probably being virtual, but we'll see what comes out. But I appreciate everybody's patience and participation. I know these are a little bit tougher than sitting around and being able to talk to each other. So I appreciate it. And again, our next meeting planned for 5/5. Is there anything else, Lorraine, or anybody else from staff?
The only thing that I guess that I'll mention is that Nicole and I have had a meeting with House Levine last Friday, and we worked on redoing some dates again on the comprehensive plan and how best to do this and involve the public. So we'll get those to you on the May 5th meeting, or we'll get them sent out to you on the dates.
All right. Thank you. With that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Jerry, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second.
Motion, couple seconds. Is anybody opposed? All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.